Product Support Manager, Jill Sorensen. Go.
Thank you very much, Mark, and hello to everyone, or it could be good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on where you are listening to us around the world. And we appreciate you joining us today for this little tour of the software. I'm going to take you through the major areas of the software and show you how to access those and show you the basic functionality that you would need to get those common tasks done, from adding music to moving it to different categories to editing your logs to getting it out to your automation system. So we'll talk about all those kinds of things. I also will talk to you about how to sort of lay out the screen, different toolbars and different menu options that you can have showing that can assist you in analyzing your data and helping you to get at the things that you would like to get at very quickly. When you first start MusicMaster, one of the things that you will see is our data file manager. And when you open that up, you will see the list of all the different databases that you have in your program. So you certainly can have sister stations, HD channels, however many channels, as many databases as you need. They will all be there ready for you. To open one, you simply double-click on it or click on it and open, and that database will open up. And in fact, I have one right here open already, my Soft AC database. Now, at this particular point, we can start to add in some of the navigation aids to help you move around the software very quickly. And the first one I'd like to add in is under the View menu. It's called our Toolbar. And this toolbar talks about those 6 things that I said I was going to tell you about, the major areas of our software. Those include library maintenance, clocks, the rule tree, the scheduler. Now that would include both automatically scheduling the log as well as editing the log and getting it out to your automation system. Analysis, where we look at what your database is going to do, what we predict it will do. And then the history browser, where we're going to talk about what the database has actually done. Another one that you can add into the database design I already have here, and that's the status bar. That is the line at the very, very bottom of your screen. The big point to talk about in this one is in the lower left-hand corner, that ready line right there. So if you're processing a log, printing it, doing something, that little corner of the screen is going to tell you how far in the process you are so that you have some idea of how long it will take. And it'll just scroll up in a percentage giving you that information. Another one to add into the view is the info bar. This particular feature of the software allows you to access 3 major areas very quickly. Right now, it's on the Music tab, and this allows me to double-click on a category. It allows me to look at song lists and queries. Queries are ways to find information in your database, and once we get into library maintenance, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. The Clocks tab lets you get into all the specific clocks that you have in your database, as well as format lists and grids. And the last tab is for the schedule, so you can open that up and double-click quickly on any of these dates to open up that log. The Dataset menu available at the top of the screen mirrors the 6 icons that you have in the toolbar. So when I open up this one, you'll see those 6 areas that we talked about. I know that's only 5. That's because the history browser is down in an analysis as well. Again, you could just as easily go to Dataset Clocks, for instance, and open up Format Clocks just as easily as you could click here on the toolbar or come over here to the info bar to open those things. So we give you different ways to open things so that if you're more comfortable with clicking on an icon or using a menu system, you're able to do that. The Tools menu is where you'll find information like backing up and restoring your data. Backing up your data is something that we encourage you to do every day, and certainly if you ever do any sort of major project on your data, add a lot of music, move it along to some different categories, add a bunch of coding to it, anything that you really don't want to have to do again, we would certainly encourage you to do a backup. And of course, restoring the backup, if you did something that you decided, I really didn't like that, you can come back in and restore your backup right here. the Help menu has a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. A direct link to our MusicMaster website. As a registered user on our website, you'll have access to not only the webinars that we've been doing, you will have access to over 100 training videos on various common subjects in the software, how to do things. They're designed to be very short so that you can watch that short video and know exactly how to do it and move on with your day. You'll also find past newsletters archived on our website. We send out a monthly newsletter that has lots of tips and tricks about things that are happening that month. Plus, there's always one major article that focuses on a concept, and those are all available for your use, archived on the website. Of course, the big thing in the Help menu is the actual documentation for the software, and we offer the standard way to open that, whether you do contents, index, or search. I'm actually going to open this with contents. I'm going to open this screen up just a little bit and show you how this is lined up in much the same way the software is. So for instance, you can still see the library maintenance and the clocks and the rules, and you can see library maintenance, format clocks, and rules. So the way the Help is lined up is done in a very similar way to the way the software is lined up, so that if you're looking for something, you'll have a very good idea right off the bat where to find it. Another thing that I like to show people in the Help is how we've created it as far as being helpful to you to help you understand something, especially if it's maybe something you're not familiar with. It's a new concept or a new term for you. And to do that, what I'd like to do is open up the rule tree and go to a keyword field rule. Keywords are our ways of giving you the ability to do some tests on things. And one of the typical ways to do that is for artist separation. Keep that same artist away from each other for X amount of time. And that's this particular rule. And when I open up this particular screen now, and this is true throughout the Help, what you will get is a little paragraph about that rule, what it does. Then we'll talk to you about how it works. And as I scroll down here a little bit, you will see that then we have a setup section. And this is going to go through each and every option that you have available on that particular rule. So of course, depending on what rule you pick, this section could be shorter, longer, have more detail. It depends on what that rule is that you've picked. And then at the very, very bottom, you will find a section called Common Usage. And this will tell you why someone might want to use that rule. So if you're going through the software and you find something that you're not familiar with, you can come into the Help, especially with the rules, and just read this top little section to find out what it is, and come down here to the very bottom section and find out why you would use it. And so very quickly, you can make a determination on whether that is something that you want to use in your database. I'm going to close out the Help. And before I get into each of the 6 areas, I thought I would take a moment and talk about how you can actually move some of these things around your screen. So for instance, right now I've got the toolbar on the left and the info bar on the right, but I can move these things where I would like to put them. So as you can see, there's a double line here, and this is what we call our gripper bar. When I hold down my control key, that pulls that out, and now this is floating. And I can certainly leave that floating wherever I would like, but I can also move it to a different location. Now I've taken my hand off the control key, and now as I move this up, it's going to find a new place to dock. And then of course I can move it over to the left if I would like. So you can actually move these things around your screen so that it makes sense for you, right-handed, left-handed, or it's just a convenient place for you to do what you would like to do. So now that we've taken a few minutes to take a look at what happens in each of the main menu items at the top and how to set up some of the toolbar options and move them around the screen, what I would like to do is add a couple of more toolbar options and move into library maintenance. And the first toolbar option that I would like to add in is our search bar. Now this one came in at the bottom of my screen, but notice it has that double bar line there. So that means that with the gripper bar that I could move this wherever I would like. This search bar is going to look through the entire library and look in your artist and title field for anything that matches. So I can quickly find information and songs that have the same structure. In this case, I'm going to type B-E-A-T. So you might already have guessed, I'm probably going to call up some Beatles songs. But watch what else I get. So here we go. There's the Beatles songs. But notice I also got this song called South Beat by Renee Toledo. As long as the B-E-A-T is in either the artist field or the title field, it will come up on my screen. So a very fast way for you to go ahead and find information in your database. Now, once this is up on the screen, I am displaying the songs right now in what we call our song card view. And I can actually toggle back and forth between a grid view and this song card view. Everything you see on this screen was custom designed in the sense that we make the database to contain the fields that you need to accomplish your programming goals. So depending on what your format is, we will put in all the fields that you want. So as you look at this list of fields that are on the screen right now, some of these may be ones that you would want, some of these may not. But we would make your database to conform to what you need. And then we'll take this a step further. Now that you've got all those fields in your database that you want, we're going to let you order this screen. So you can decide what order these fields are in, so that you can have things that maybe are more important to you at the top and maybe things that are less important to you as you scroll to the bottom. But you get to decide. As you're doing this, you can also decide which display you'd like. As I mentioned, this is our song card view, but we also offer a grid view. And when I click on this, the first thing you're going to notice is that there's less fields and the font is much larger. This particular display is separate and distinct from the song card display. So I can save different designs in the two different places, and I can have multiple designs. So for instance, if you would like one that's just a very simple display that just has some basic information, you can do that. You might have another display that includes your coding fields, like a sound or a gender field, so you can see what those codes are on each song. You might even have a design that's set up so that when you add new music, those fields are lined up in exactly the way that you're used to adding the songs. You can have as many of those as you'd like. You can load them at any time. And you can pick one that's always your default, so that every time you come in, it shows whatever information you would like to see. So let's talk about adding a song. There are definitely a couple of ways you can do it. One of the easiest is to click on the plus sign on the library maintenance toolbar. When that happens, it's going to ask you which category you would like, and by default, it's going to pick the one from our pointer column here, our active song, and it's going to ask you how many songs you would like to add. In this case, I'll just leave it at 1, and I'll go ahead and add it to the existing song list. So it knows what category, and it fills that in right away, and I can tab over to the next field. One of the ways we make the software easier for you is to do something we call autocomplete. In other words, you start typing, and the program's going to start filling it in. So I'm going to add a song by Celine Dion here, and watch what happens after I type just the first 2 letters of her name, S-E. Her whole name is listed there. I don't have to type anymore. As I tab over to the title, I'm going to add the song My Love. And as I start to type, it's trying to find something, but guess what? That song isn't in the database anywhere, so I actually have to type the whole thing. So you can certainly see in any sort of field like an artist, a title, an album, where you might have to type the same information over and over again. Autocomplete will do 2 things for you. First of all, save you a lot of time in doing all that typing. But second of all, it will make sure that your database is consistent. You won't have to worry about typos and things like that. And just to be complete here, I'm going to add a runtime to that particular song so that we have that in the database as well. I can continue to add songs and do what I would like with this. Maybe I've put this song in now and I've changed my mind and I really don't want it in category S. I have several ways now that I could get this into a different category. If I want this in category C, I can just type the letter C in that category field. I know I'm in the category field because I can see this gray box as my location. And if I type the letter C and press enter, it automatically changes. And of course, it's picking up the color that I've designated for that category. You might have noticed the 3 buttons here for it's called our Edit Helper button. if I click on that, I'm able to actually pick a different category. Just for the sake of showing it to you, I'll pick D this time, and you can see it changes. Certainly one of the faster ways to do this is to drag it to the info bar. And this, again, is where placement may be important to you, where you have things on your screen. Not only the order of the columns that you see here, but where something like the info bar is located. You might decide it makes sense to have it on the left side of your screen after I show you what I'm going to show you. I'm going to pick up this song just by left-clicking on it. Now, the whole line is highlighted. And I'm just going to drag across to the info bar. And watch how the name of the category turns to bold. That's how I know what category it's going to go into when I let go. I'll go back to category C, and as soon as I do that, it changes. Of course, we all know that from time to time you do something that you decide you didn't want to do, whether that's the way you type the information in the field or make a change like moving it to a different category. That's easily undone by going to the Edit menu. And you see the program actually is smart enough. It knows the last thing you did, or I did, I should say, is that I moved a song. So if I do Edit, Undo, Move Song, it goes back to category D. And as long as I stay in library maintenance, I can continue to do Edit, Undo. As soon as I close library maintenance, that information will be gone, and then I would have to go back and do it manually and change it by clicking on the field and making that change. Now, I can also click on several songs just by holding down the Control key. And when I do that, I can also go to the info bar, for instance, and change them. So individual groups of songs, you can move those very quickly to a different category. Of course, you may realize you don't have the category that you want. You need a new category listed. To add a new category to your database, you would select Dataset and Library, and on this menu, you would see Categories. All of the categories that I have in my database are now listed here, and the order that you see them here, that's the order they appear in the info bar. So for many people, the most popular categories are there at the top. Some do this in the way they order the categories. This one schedules first, this one schedules second. It's really your choice. I'm going to add a new category, and the pop-up box comes up. And I don't have a category for new music, so I'm going to add a category called New. And we'll call it New Music. It's a music category. You do have a couple of choices here. You may have noticed the line through my jingle category. That's my non-music category. So things like my liners, my jingles. Some people have their commands for their automation systems in categories. That's not considered music in their opinion, so they make that non-music. So we'll leave that one that way as music. And you get to color it. I think that's half the fun. We'll make new a bright green. We'll think spring. And I click OK, and it's at the bottom of my list. I can then move it wherever I would like just by dragging it up and down. And speaking of dragging things around in the database, coming up next hour, Drew Bennett's going to be here, and he's going to be talking about all the various places that you can drag and drop in the software. Now, when I click OK, that new category is going to show up here. So you can quickly add music, move it around in your database, and add categories if you need to do that. Of course, one of the other things that you probably want to do at some point is find particular information in your database, particular sets of songs or criteria. Maybe it's your female songs. Maybe it's things that have a tempo of a certain number, a certain speed. Of course, I used the search bar to find anything that had BEAT in the artist or the title field. But our queries give you much more flexibility as far as what you're looking for. And by clicking on the binoculars icon, I come up with our library query box. This box has 3 sections to it. The first is all the different categories that you would like to include, and you can simply uncheck and recheck any category that you would like. And then we have our search filters. Now, in this case, it still knows that I was looking for something that contains beats. So just to do another example here, I'm going to delete all of those. And I'm going to use the drop-down box here. And every field in my database is available to me. So I click on the letter G, and I'm taken right to that list. And it turns out gender is the very first thing there, and that's the one I want. Box next door is our operators, what we're looking for. This will change depending on what field you're in. So, for instance, it may be contains, it may not contains. It'll depend on the field that you're in, what kinds of options you have available to you. I'll leave it at contains any of. Now, if I know exactly what I want, in this case females, I could just type F because I know that's my code. But if I wasn't familiar with it, I could use the drop-down box and click on the one I wanted. Now I can add it. The final thing I can do here is I can sort this list. So in this case, I'm just going to sort it by artist and title. And I'll type the, oh, I was still in the first one. Here I'm going to type the letter T. That gets me to the start of the T's. I could continue typing the letter T and get to title, or just use the scroll down box there. Now, once I have this, if I think it's something that I want to save for doing in the future, I can do that. And we'll call it gender F and save it. Now that'll show up in my query list over here, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So when I click OK, all of those songs are on my screen. Now I'm not displaying the gender field, but these songs are all by females as I go down the list. And it tells me how many songs are on this list. You can create queries that do all sorts of things. There's the one I just did for gender F. We also have what we call prompted queries. So when I click on that one, it's just saying, what do you want to look for? And it's prompting me for what it is. Now you can see I have some Basha songs on the screen already. So we'll just look for only her music. I do continue, and only her music comes up on the screen in the various categories that it's in. So we've looked at this one, but maybe we want to go back to the one we had before. You can do that by using the binoculars with the green arrow, and that'll take you to the previous query. Now I'm back to the one that shows me all the females. I can keep going back, and now I'm back to the very original one that I called up on my screen. If any of the queries that you do are your favorite and you want it to just open that way, that's what the binoculars with the heart does. It'll show all the queries that are available, and you can check off the one that you would like. Now, I'm going to go back to the info bar here and go to the categories, and I'm actually going to call up my entire library just by double-clicking here. Now, all of the songs are on my list. In fact, they're sorted by title alphabetically. And sorting in the software, very simple. All I have to do is click on the header. If I click on it again, it'll go in reverse order. It's that simple. You may have your whole library up on your screen, and you may want to find something without using the query. That can be done. If I use Control Q, that query box I just showed you comes up on my screen. I'm just going to move it down just a little bit. What you can see is that I was in the title field when I did this. And so the filter automatically filled that in for me. So all I have to do now is say, title contains love. Where's the first song that goes to? And it goes down to that particular song on the list. And there they all are. It's found those for me. Now I'm going to go back to the previous query where I had the whole library on my screen. And this time, I am going to go to this particular song. You can see what will happen. I'm going to do Control R this time. And this time, not only was I in the title field, but it actually put in the title that I was on. So it can really speed up that search that you're looking for. So when I do this query now, I know there are going to be 2 matches. And it turns out those are the only 2 matches. So some very quick ways that you can move around the software and find information. And you can simply double-click on a category. You can use the query to bring it up. Of course, one of the things people say to me is that I've got this great list on my screen. It has all the songs that I want. I just want to print it now. Can I do that? And the answer is absolutely. That's what our printer with the red sheet of paper does. It's our quick print. And it basically is just what it says there. It's the active view. So if I go ahead and do a quick print, it's just going to be these 4 columns, these 46 songs. It will look exactly like this. So you don't have to do any kind of setup. There's no report design. But if you're really interested in doing report designs and log designs and making things look really fancy and really cool, stick around coming in 2 hours, Paul Zeno will be here, and he is going to be talking about how to take advantage of all the functionality in our log and our library report designers. So now that we've taken a look at adding music and looking at queries, finding things in your database, let's take a few minutes and talk about clocks. I'm just going to click on the clock icon, and up pops the Format Clock Maintenance box. This gives me a couple of tabs, and I can go to the various things. I frankly could have gone over here to the info bar and clicked and gotten to some of these same things. When I open up a clock, I'm just going to click on it, say that's the one I want to edit. This gives me a grid list showing me which category is going to be called for and in what order. I'm actually only showing just a few of the many different element types that we do in fact have available to you here. A log note, simply a log on your note on your log. For many people, that's where they do their commands to their automation system. We pass that information through for you. A fixed category where we know this category is going to be called for in that position. And then a traffic merge position where that commercial content is going to be. You can move things around here and change these things very quickly. There are toolbar icons to insert and clone elements as well as to delete them. And we also give you the option to use a pie chart view of the clock. In this case, there are other tabs as well, category usage and element usage. But that pie view shows you the same kind of information, but just in a graphic format. And the reason this might be helpful to you is because it may show you something that you might not catch just looking at this clock in the grid format. So for instance, you'll notice that the very first music position here is a category C, and the very last position is a category C. I might not have caught that, but when I go to the grid view, it shows up very quickly for me. In fact, when I highlight on this, watch the bottom of the screen right here. It's actually going to show me the name of the category as I go around. So where I might not have caught that I had those two categories close to each other, in this case really back to back, if I played this clock consecutive hours, I'm going to see that right here, and maybe I decide I'm going to make a change. The way you leave this screen is the way it will show up in the future. So if I want to have this pie chart view and the grid view always displayed, all I have to do is close the clock maintenance at this point, and that's how it will show up in the future. If I want to see one or the other, I just have to click or unclick on either of those icons to make that happen. Print icon here as well, in case you want to print anything out. There's nothing to set up. We're going to take care of all that for you and print the parts of the clock that you would like, whether you want the grid view, all the different things that go with that clock. So we'll take care of all that for you. One of the other things that you do here is to, in fact, create an assignment grid where you determine which clocks are used at what particular time. And I have a very simple clock grid. I will click on the Clock tab here and go to the Clock Grids to show you a different way into the grid. And if I open up that grid, you'll see that I'm calling in a very basic demo database here for the same clock in every single hour. I can use my drop-down box and select any clock and put it in any place. And I can have multiple clock grids to do different things for perhaps holiday scheduling or special programming that I might want, just as well as I can have different clocks that will take care of those things, special programming, holiday programming, all those sorts of things. Now, one of the places that you do have to save in the software would be a case like this. There is a save icon here. In this case, I didn't click on it, so we'll prompt you. It wants to know if I want to save those changes. In this case, I'll just say no, and that screen will go away, and it will go back to the one I was at before. Library maintenance, we've got our songs in the database. We've decided what order we want. We're going to make sure we've got some rules in the database that will help us accomplish our programming goals. That's done in our rule tree with our lightning bolt icon. Active rules are on the left, so any place you see the plus sign, that's where you have rules. Any place on the left side with a plus sign, that is a place where there are available rules that you could, in fact, implement. I can right-click on this and expand them. When we convert your data, all of this information is going to be put into place for you. but on a sort of ongoing basis, you might come into this location and decide maybe that you want to make a change in any of these rules. A simple double click will open them. In fact, just a click and a grab will let you take a rule from one side to the other and put it into place. We do offer analysis here to help you make good decisions about what kinds of rules to put into place. That's done with our rule wizard. What it does is it looks at all of the rules that you do have in place and checks that against the last log that you've scheduled to see whether or not those rules may have caused problems in the way the database was, in the way the log was created. So we've looked at the library, the clocks, and the rules. Let's move right into getting a log scheduled for you. The calendar icon is going to open up the scheduling calendar. This is where you can access many of the very basic functions from the scheduling standpoint. We can edit a log, we can automatically schedule it, we can print it, and we can get it out to your automation system. And I'm going to go through all of those for you. Now, when you click on the automatic scheduler, it already knows what log was the last one scheduled here, so it automatically goes to the next date. When I double click on this, the automatic scheduler window appears. I can go ahead and configure the date range. I can pick the categories that I would like to schedule. So if any of you do scheduling in passes, where you schedule your currents and your recurrents first, maybe for the whole week, and then you go and edit those and make sure those have laid out the way you want, that's how you would, this is how you would do this. You'd come in here and you'd pick that date range, and you'd simply uncheck all of the categories and only check off the ones that you want to schedule. You'd schedule the whole log. You'd go in and you would edit it, and then you'd come back to this screen, and you would set the date range for the same thing, and you just check off all of the categories the second time. It won't change anything that you've already done. Those are all set in place. It'll just fill in all the remaining spaces in your log. We do have some other options for you as far as scheduling. If you're doing special sets and things like that. The Options tab, there's only a couple of things I want to point out in this one. For many people, they want the schedule editor to simply launch as soon as that scheduling process is open. So we give you that option here. The thinking file process is checked off by default. That's a great one. It's an advanced diagnostic tool that we can help you use in order to find out why things are scheduling and not scheduling. So it is made automatically stored on your MusicMaster for Windows directory, overwritten every time, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. If you're one of those people who likes to do an interactive kind of scheduling run where the program goes ahead and does that automatically scheduling of the log, but when it gets to a position where it just goes, I can't find a song that works here, manual assist scheduling is the choice for you then. With that box checked off, what you can do is at that particular moment in time when the program says, I just can't find a song that meets your criteria, the automatic scheduler process stops. It tells you, you can go in and find the selection that you would like to be placed at that particular moment in time. And once you click OK, the automatic scheduler process continues. So first and foremost, what that will mean is that when the log is done, there won't be any unscheduled positions. And the second point would be, as soon as the log is done, you won't have to worry about trying to find something that will fit into that spot now that everything else has been scheduled around it. So those two options are some that are typically used on that particular tab. The Filters tab, one that I'm not going to go into in a lot of depth here. It's using some of the more advanced features on your clock. So on a regular basis, probably not anything you have to worry about just to get going. If I went ahead and clicked OK, all you would see on your screen is a progress box. It would tell you what date it was working on, as well as what category and what hour it was scheduling. I don't want to take our time up by showing that to you, so I'm just going to cancel out of this and go back to this calendar icon. And I'm going to edit today's log. I'm just going to click on the date first, and that will help me automatically open up that log. I should point out that, again, everything you see on this screen, I designed in this particular database. I designed black on white lettering. I designed that particular typeface and that font size, as well as what fields are being displayed here. So you can make this look just the way you would like, much like in library maintenance I showed you that you could have different designs and have multiple looks so that it made sense for you. This particular design is fairly simple, artist title, runtime, and I'll talk to you about what's going on here at the far columns in just a moment. So now that this stuff is on the screen, again, I can have different designs. I can save those designs for different reasons. I can load up one and say, that's my default. This is the one that I want to see on a regular basis. So you're in here and you decide, I really don't want to play that song. What do I do to change it? Just double-click on it. What will happen at that point is that the replacement song window will appear. And this also is a screen that is designed. You notice how in each of these places, whether it was library maintenance or the schedule editor here or now this replacement window, how they've all looked just a little different, whether it was the type of the font or the size, those kinds of things, all a little different. And that's because I got to choose how I wanted that to look. So in this particular case, I've just got a few fields. And actually, I'm going to move this one over just a little bit so that you can see that final column that I have in here, song rest. So at this particular point, again, I can make the designs that I'd like. I can save those and have one of them as the default, so every time I come in, it looks the same. Once I find the song on the list that I would like, all I have to do is double-click on it, or I could use the green check mark as well to take care of that. I'll just double-click on it. It's in the log. I don't have to do anything else. That's saved. That change is in effect. There's nothing else I need to do here. Now, there are a couple of other ways that you can find different songs in your database. Maybe you don't want to double-click on it to find the replacement window and look down that list. Maybe what you really want is the most perfect song to replace this one. If that's the case, Shift F9 will just go in and it'll find the most perfect song and automatically put it in the database for you. No extra clicking. It's in, and you can move on to the next position. We also have a couple of ways if you know exactly what you want. Maybe you know you want a song that is it's got love in the title, but you can't remember exactly what that is. You have a method called direct data entry with a entry format that's very simple. And it's going to look like I'm typing over this Gloria Estefan song and maybe changing that information, but I'm really not. And all I'm going to do is type a couple of dots, an L-O-V-E, and a couple of more dots. And that's the syntax for contain. I'm looking for a title that contains the word love. And when I press enter, the replacement window is going to come up, and it's going to show that list. And of course, look what song it came up with first, that new song that I added. But that's the only one it came up with. Now, I know there's more songs in my database that have love in them. What's going on? Well, you can control how the songs are displayed. In this case, the green flag is picked, which means I'm only going to see songs that meet every single rule in my database. We also have an option to say, just show me the ones that don't break unbreakable rules. And when I click on that one, I still only get one. So now if I go to the third one that says, show me every song, now the whole list fills in. And if I start to click on any of these songs, you'll start to see what happens. It's going to tell me that it violates unbreakable rules. That's what's in red. And then you have the ones in yellow, which are breakable rules. Now, as the person running the software, I can certainly still go ahead and pick any of these songs, and it's not a problem. It violates the rules. The program is telling me that. But as the user of the software, you have the ability to go ahead and pick that song anyway. And just to show you that I can, I'll go ahead and do that. So even though I know it's violating some of my rules, I can go ahead and pick that. Of course, I saw that in the test results panel. I also have a results panel down here that tells me information. This is also customizable by you. We have many different panels that are available to you to give you information. So this is just giving me a snapshot of song rest. So this violates my rest rule because this song actually plays in 17 hours and 27 minutes. It violates my artist keyword rule because another song by Jim Chappelle actually played 36 minutes ago. This particular one is giving me my history graph. And you can access the history graph in library maintenance as well as in the schedule editor. It's F6. And if I move this up a little bit, hopefully you can see how this particular graph looks just like this one. And we have lots of information here in the history graph that we can help you understand what's going on with the song. We have different graph modes. This one's in play history mode, so I'm seeing each and every play history. Daily spins is going to show me each day and how many times it played, so that's typically better on a faster spinning category. We have weekly and shift history as well. One of the other things that we have available is which graph are you looking at? I'm looking at the song, but maybe I want to see any place one of Jim's songs aired. That's our keyword graph, and now I can see any place any of his songs aired. We even let you go, but where were the ones that we just had? All right, so there's Lovers of the Flame. That aired right here. And if I go down far enough, I'll find another square around 3-4. And if I go back a little more, there's the play that we're looking at right now. So another place that you can customize your application is right here in the history graph, because once you decide what graph you want to see, all those different things that you can configure here, you can use the push pin, and that'll make it the default grid. So every time you come into it from that point forward, it will show you that graph. This one floats around. It can be docked as well, so you can put this where you would like. In this case, I'm just going to close out of it. So we've moved a song. I'm sorry, we've swapped this. We've replaced a song. Now I want to show you how to move and swap songs. If I want to move a song, I just have to click on the line, and now I can start to drag it where I would like it to go. And that doesn't seem to be. There we go. It gives the dark line, and I can move this wherever I would like. As soon as I let go, that's where it is. If I want to swap two songs, it's just a double click and a double click again, and those swap. Of course, just like in library maintenance, you might decide, I really didn't want to do that, and that's quite all right. Edit, undo, and notice again, just like before, when it knew I moved a song, this time it knows I swapped a song, I can undo that. And I can continue to go ahead and undo things as far back as I would like, including changing songs. In the overall scheme of the program, I showed you how you had some toolbars here, and we had the search bar down here and the info bar. There are definitely things you can add into your schedule editor display as well. Talk briefly about the results panel. You'll also notice I have an hour selection option, so I can jump immediately to a different hour. One of the other ones that I'd like to show you, though, is instant analysis. This is a little pop-up box that's going to give you information about your day. In this particular case, I've decided I want to look at the female and male ratio, not only in my hour, but in the total day. So in the 1 o'clock hour, I've got 6 of each. For the whole day, I'm at 48 and 37. As I click to a different hour, and I'll use the hour selection bar to do that, this screen will automatically update. You can have as many different things in instant analysis as you would like. If you're concerned about, for instance, the year. Maybe you're in a format where knowing the year the song played is important, and you want to see what that balance is. Maybe you are in one of the places where your government requires you to do reports showing what kind of content. That's certainly applicable to our friends in Canada. They use this so that they can monitor that content and make sure that they are within their regulations. So no matter what it is that you're trying to do, instant analysis can give you that little snapshot of what's going on. This one just floats around. I can put this wherever I would like on my screen. Now, I talked about doing male-female with this analysis here. I just close this out for a second. That's actually what I'm doing here. This is what we call highlighting. And highlighting lets me visually set up where that information is done. I can have up to 8 different highlights in my schedule editor. So now as I just, and I'll do this slowly so your screen will update, as I scroll down with my mouse wheel, I very clearly know where the females and the males are. And so I might get to this hour and go, wow, I'm not liking this. I got 5 here and 4 here. Maybe I decide I change the song. Maybe I go look someplace else and do a swap. It's a way for you to visually get a handle on what's going on in each of the hours based on whatever that criteria it is that you're looking for. Maybe you look at the song and you decide, that shouldn't even have that code. That's not even correct information. You don't have to go back to library maintenance. And by the way, notice that everything I've opened is down here. So I could click on library maintenance and go find this Gloria Estefan song, but I don't need to do that. If I need to make a change, I can come right up here to the song card editor, and I can go ahead and edit anything I want here. That's changed throughout the whole program. So if I go back to library maintenance and look at this song, all of that updated stuff will be there. So you've got it all done. If you're happy with this log, you need to get it to your automation system. You can stay right here and click to automation and do that. There is an option on the scheduler icon as well for that. But I'll just click on this. We would help you set up for your automation system the design you need. We work with all the major guys, as well as all kinds of new ones that have come up in the last few years. So we work with that automation system to make sure that the file coming out of our software is going to be imported into your system properly. And for you, you just make sure there's a checkbox there saying, yes, that's the one I want, and pick that date. Really, the only thing you have to do is figure out where you want it to go. And as long as you know that path, all you have to do is click OK. Off that file goes, and you are done for the day. Now, we have 5, maybe 10 minutes left. What I'd like to do is talk about a couple of other areas of the software. And first off, I'd like to open up Analysis. Analysis gives you a couple of chunks of information. The top part of the screen is going to give you statistical information about the individual categories. So in my category A, you can see I have 7 songs in slots. I'm actually calling for it in all 168 hours of the week. And so you can see in a case like this, you know I'm playing category C more than once per hour. Since these two are the same, odds are I'm playing them once per hour. And there's your average. You're going to get turnover information as you go along the screen here. Actually, we have all kinds of options available to you. If I right-click here, you can see all the different kinds of turnover and spin information that's available to you. You can uncheck and check any of these so that you can dial in and find just that piece of information that you want to see on a regular basis. I think the fun, though, is in the bottom part of the screen. This is a predicted turnover map. So taking into account just the number of times you call for that category on your clock and the number of songs in that category, we're going to predict how a single song would move throughout your day. And so you can see I have a nice pattern here. I also have different colored circle pie charts here. Those reflect the different quarter hours that that song would play in. And so the idea is that you can come to a category and go, well, that one's not very good. I probably need to do something about this. And say, well, what happens if I add a song to the category? Well, that's better. And in fact, now you can see that I have there's that 4th quarter hour, the yellow one, and I can continue to do that. Now, here's the original information, but now that I've changed the number of songs in the category, this information will update. And so I can continue to do this and see if I can find a pattern that might be better. Of course, I always have to remember that this is only taking into account the number of times I'm calling for that category on my clocks and the number of songs that I'm thinking of putting into that category. As soon as I have rules on the category, I probably won't get this exact pattern because it might have to skip a song because it doesn't meet one of your rules. So you have to take that into consideration when you're doing this, but this can help you come up with some better category relationships as far as number of songs in the category and the number of times you're calling for it. Where Analysis is talking about what has happened as far as your turnovers and what could happen as far as your predicted rotation, the History Browser is going to show you what has happened. And to access the History Browser, since I have the toolbar here, I'm going to click on the graph icon. This is going to open up with our History Browser option box with 5 tabs. Time period actually looks fairly similar to some of the ones we've seen previously, especially in that automatic scheduler box where I get to pick the dates that I want. I'm actually just going to go back one full week here. I've got various options for what hours I might want to include. When I look at categories, I can uncheck anything I don't want to include in the report. And filters, again, similar to what we saw before with that query box. So if maybe I only wanted to analyze a subset of my database, this is where you would do it. The display tab is the one that's really the workhorse here. This is where you tell it what you want to look at. You have lots of different options here. I might want to just focus on a specific gender report. Maybe I want to look at my keywords, maybe an artist, in this case, individual songs. And each display mode that you pick will give you various options. So this is really one of those places where you can come in and actually sit and play around with this and see what kind of information you get and come back to the display options and change it up a little bit. What I want to show you is a report that I bet most of you do every week because it's your weekly spins report. I've picked my time frame, and because I want to do this report on an ongoing basis, I actually saved it as a favorite. And you can see I have a couple more here. I can have as many as I'd like. And so now I don't have to do any setup. I picked my date range, and I came to favorites, and I said, show me the weekly spins report. And I click load, and it comes up on my screen. It's already sorted the way I want in descending order and showing me the songs on this particular report. And I can access any of those 5 options, again, by coming here. And you can see I also have some options to copy it and print it and so on. The bottom graph gives you lots of choices. The drop down here would give you, probably a dozen different ways that you could view this information. So this is more of a graphic display of what's going on so that I can see this particular song aired in these hours across that time frame. So we've looked at what's happened in the database. That's the history browser. We've looked at what could we do to a category and what kind of turnovers are we getting with analysis. We've looked at how to edit a log, move songs around, change them, get it ready to send to our automation system. We've looked at our rule structure, what things are important to me as a programmer to make sure that my radio station or my stream sounds the way I want it to. We've looked at that clock. That's sort of the roadmap. This is telling the program how that hour is going to be constructed. And, of course, we've looked at library maintenance and all the things that you would do on a regular basis there, like moving songs and adding songs and even adding new categories. And, of course, just how your screen looks. So we can click on an info bar and pull up categories or clocks or search for things. So I hope you have enjoyed our